Alright, we're back with the Dana and Jim show. It's a 5-minute video on the LIFEPAK15, which is the paramedic monitor for all those EMTs that, one, either don't get a lot of opportunity to work with the LIFEPAK, or those new employees that haven't been exposed to it. So I'm just going to go around, do a 360 on it for you. On the front is the front face. This was the screen, obviously. We have some buttons over here. That's where the print button is. There's also a whole bunch more buttons over here. That's where the power button is. We'll talk about some of the other buttons in a minute. This is there's a toggle switch right here. And then this is where the pads plug in, and then over here where other devices plug in, tips on it. So let's just kind of start over on this one side from there. Like I said, this is where the therapy cable is, and that means that's where the defib pads are. So when we open this up on this side, you'll see the therapy cable here, and then as we turn this around, you can kind of see this is where our defib pads are for pediatrics and adults. On the outside of that is where the blood pressure cuff is, right on the outside right-hand side here. That plugs into the front face of the monitor. On this side, there's a whole bunch of hookups here. Obviously, you can see that's where the leads are plugged in, and we pretty much put leads on most everybody that we see, so that's going to be a common practice. And up above, you'll find a bag of electrodes, and here are the 4 leads. We'll talk about that in just a couple of minutes. And then these are the chest leads for if we do an electrocardiogram. So this would be a common thing that you might get asked to do, is to hook up the leads. We'll talk about that in a moment. So we just left off here. On the far left-hand side, it's important to point out that there is an audio recorder here that turns on every time we power on the device. So you are being recorded, so you want to be thoughtful about what you say. I'm just going to flip this back onto a 360 here, onto the back. We have an upper compartment and a lower compartment. We open up the upper compartment here. There's a large blood pressure cuff here. There's a finger probe oxygen saturation waveform device here. And there is a end-tidal CO2 inline adapter for intubation back here. We can talk about that another time, but that's where those items are located. So it's really common for you to hook up the leads, to hook up the oxygen saturation, to hook up the blood pressure cuff. Those are things that we've talked about so far. We'll talk about those a little bit more in detail in a little while. The lower compartment has a pressure bag in it for IV fluids. It has a roll of paper, extra roll of paper in here, and a razor, and another type of end-tidal measuring device that incorporates a nasal cannula in it. So those are things that you routinely would not need to get into back here, but just make sure you know that they're there. After doing a 360 of the LIFEPAK, we kind of went around the outside and talked about what items are there. The next thing we're going to do is just talk about some of the basic functions of turning it on. So green up here is where your power button is. That also turns it off. So that is the on and the off, but it's remind you that green means go. And as you notice, the things that are really, really important for us are right here, right in the upper right-hand corner. So you'll always know that the power button is right there. Then if we're going to shock somebody, there's our energy select, charge, and shock. So 1, 2, 3 is where you're going to go to. You're just going to use the power button only. When we turn on the power, the device will power on, and it will come up in a certain configuration in every single LIFEPAK that we have. And that configuration is called paddles, SpO2, and CO2. And this is designed to be ready for cardiac arrest. And this is the screen that all of these LIFEPAKs power up on, so that they're ready for cardiac arrest. Obviously, 99% of the calls are not cardiac arrest. And so you need to understand how to move it out of this screen for the purposes of putting a 4-lead on and doing EKG monitoring on a live patient. And that is done by hitting this lead button right here. You'll see a button that says lead, and what we're going to do is it's going to give us a menu of different leads to put on the screen. And so when I hit that, you see this here And we've conveniently put our most common one right down here at the bottom. 1, 2, and 3. That's our most common one that we go to. And the way that you say, yep, that's the one I want, is you just push in on this dial. So this dial allows me to move up and down like this. And when I push in on it, it selects it. And you can see now we're on leads 1, 2, and 3, which is going to allow me to look at the leads that you're going to put on the arms and the legs. Okay, so in summary, we've done a couple of things. One, we've done a 360 around the outside of this to kind of understand that this side is the defib therapy side. There's a blood pressure cuff in here. This is the EKG side. It has electrodes and has our 4-lead and our 12-lead in it. On the back is some additional items that you might get asked to pull out.